welcome back for another episode of the most professional podcast out there ever. No exaggeration. And this week, Double S Jess and myself are being joined by Single S Jess. Jess,
Hi.
welcome. How are you
Thanks.
doing? And who are you?
Well, I'm great. I have my coffee. It's 9:40 a.m., so that's necessary. So yes, a little bit about me. I am Single S Jess. I am based in Louisville, Kentucky, in the United States, land of horse racing and bourbon, and I enjoy the bourbon immensely.
I was going to say
My
not necessarily in that order, but
correct. I'm actually quite excited about the fact that in October I'm organizing a custom distillery tour for my fiance's birthday and like 10 of our friends that are coming in from out of town. So that's going to be a good time. Uh, but I think that can be part of what we talk about after the data part. Yeah. Let's see. So for work, I work for Microsoft. I've been there about 6.5 years now. I'm currently a product manager in the Azure SQL database team. And I recently, like last month, took on a new set of products. So I work on SQL database backup and restore, the import export service, and data sync. So cover a bunch of stuff, but have had, almost 2 decades now of working with SQL Server in various capacities.
whenever Jess is leaving a team at Microsoft, I at first get very sad because it means I don't get to work with her anymore. But then I realize she's joining a new team, so I get to work with her again. So all is good again.
Yes, exactly.
So are you just following her around the teams? She moves teams, and now you're like, I love backups.
I have no idea what that means, but let's talk.
Yes, Ben always has feedback for me, which is great. It's what I need. That's the life of a PM, right? If we don't talk to our customers, what are we doing?
I'm a very opinionated person for those who haven't met me, so there's that.
100% true in the best way possible.
There's that. Thank you. You kind of gave away that you apparently already watched our show before because you knew that we're going to be asking a data question. So let's lead right into that. And especially with you having worked with SQL Server or SQL in general for a while, not just SQL Server, you having been at Microsoft for a while working on all kinds of different teams.
Yes.
Now the super hard part. Pick your favorite.
You're right. This is a really hard question. I've been thinking about this, and I have a couple of different answers because number one, my favorite feature that's ever been introduced in a SQL Server family ever was Query Store back in SQL 2016, right? I had been asking for probably a decade before that for some way to track query plan history. And then suddenly one day Microsoft gave it to us. How cool is that? And like Query Store has continued to evolve and change and get better. When I was a premier field engineer for Microsoft, so that was my first role in 2017, working with enterprise customers. I remember introducing one of my clients to Query Store and just like mind blowing how much that changed like their entire database administrator experience. Obviously, there was a little bit of a lag because they could not just upgrade all of their hundreds of production instances to SQL 2016 instantaneously.
Because they were not using containers. Otherwise, it would have been like,
We didn't have SQL in containers yet, Ben. That was 2017. I know we got the order wrong there. No. But since we couldn't, they couldn't upgrade everything immediately, but as they did, like game changer. I think that was a game changer for SQL, for DBAs, for performance tuning. Like I love that. So that's still to this day my favorite feature. But over time, I would say my favorite subject in data has been business continuity. And I do not say that just because I am now working on backup and restore, although that totally speaks to my heart. But I remember the first time, I still remember the first time that I had to take our SQL 2000 instance and upgrade it to a SQL Server 2005 failover cluster instance. And like ordering okay, so back in the day, to age myself, like we still had to order the physical hardware to put in the data center. And like I worked for a very small company, so I had to go put it in the data center with the network admin, and then like upgrade the database and test the failover. And I remember struggling with it because I was maybe a year out of school. I had never worked with a failover cluster before. I had never upgraded one before. This was when Twitter was still new and cool. And I was like on Twitter using the SQL help hashtag, like, I can't get this thing to fail over. Someone help me. And people did. This was one of the many reasons my love of Twitter and SQL community was born there. And then I remember when availability groups came out and how much that changed the landscape. I remember Ben is well familiar with my love of log shipping. I should have worn that shirt. I have so many great shirts, courtesy Ben Weissman, but I have a shirt that says I heart log shipping because I have implemented that for so many customers over the years. And now I get to work on a fundamental part of the business continuity plan for customers in Azure SQL. And I think that's cool because, right, like data is the heart of most companies' businesses today, right? If you don't have your data, you don't have a business. And something is going to happen to your data, inevitably. Every company, every database, something is going to happen somewhere along the line. Someone is going to delete a record that they should not have, or run a delete clause, or run a delete statement without a where clause. A disk somewhere along the line will get corrupted. Your data center or your region will lose connectivity. It happens. It is physics. And so knowing what your options are, having practiced them, having plans in place, I think that's really important. And also I think it's fun. I don't know how many other people think that's fun. I think it's fun.
So to summarize, your favorite data thing is query store, failover clusters, availability groups, log shipping, and backups.
Yes.
Great. However,
okay,
since you asked me to pick
thanks for picking one.
Single as Jes kind of classified all of that as business continuity. It was again a smart move, and it's just basically what people do these days on that show. Give us one thing, and then they come up with a very broad term that describes a gazillion other terms. But I think at this point it is also too late to stop that trend. Well played, people.
I think you hold the record now for the ability to put multiple things into one thing for it to be your favorite thing.
We can scratch failover cluster instances off that list.
Okay.
They are not my
Those
favorite
are out.
thing. They're close to the bottom. But that's what I cut my teeth on, so to say. Yes.
I mean, failover clusters are kind of my safe word. So,
yeah, we nearly ended this podcast just when you mentioned that.
I was this close to hitting stop until I realized I haven't told you my safe word yet. So,
how did we even know?
I didn't know we'd be in that situation today, but here we are.
Ben, add safe words to the checklist.
Consider it done.
Thank you. Perfect. Well, when you're not playing with all of those favorite things and you're outside of the data world, what is your favorite non-data thing? Yeah, that's the right way around. Yes. Favorite non-data thing, please.
Good job, Double S, Jes.
That's an easy thing to answer. I have one. It's trail running. I love going out. So I love running in general, but I mostly love trail running. I've run multiple ultra marathons, 50K distance. And currently training for a 15K race in November, followed by a half marathon in November, and then a 30K in January, all trail races. I was just out last night running in one of our local parks. So it's my favorite thing.
Awesome. Good work on picking one thing.
Yes. I started running. I didn't start running until I was in my late 20s, right? So I think a lot of people in the sequel community like know me as a runner, but I've not always been. I started in my late 20s. I did a 5K, and I thought at that time that was the hardest single physical feat I had ever done in my entire life. But then I loved it, and I was like, could I do a 10K? Sure. Then I was like, maybe I'll do a half marathon. Sure. Maybe I'll do a marathon. That was a terrible idea. And so after that, I remember going to one of our local state parks and being like, maybe instead of hiking, I could run. And then I discovered that someone else had already thought of this probably several centuries ago. Like, you can both run and do it on trails in the woods. And I discovered a whole bunch of trail running races. And that was probably around 2013, 2014. So that's been a while. And yeah, I focused on trail running ever since.
That's awesome. That's like, how can you make running harder? Like, let's run up a hill and over logs and things like.
Which, you say that, but I actually think trail running is easier because,
really?
Yes, like road running, everyone is so focused on like, I have to run as fast as possible and not stop, and I'm going to drink these little goo packets of electrolytes for fuel. And trail running, everyone shows up with their dogs and their wild clothing and their friends in their mountain bikes, and they bring packs of snacks, and nobody cares if you're fast or slow. It's a party. There's music at the aid stations. The last ultra marathon I ran, they had bonfires going with s'mores at every stop. Nobody in a road marathon is like, cool, been running for like an hour and a half. Definitely need to stop, have some s'mores, maybe drink some Coca-Cola, check on a few other people, and then proceed on. Trail running is a totally different vibe, and I am here for it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like the s'mores part. I like the bonfire part. I like the music part. One of the things people are not so focused on all their electrolytes and all that is because when trail running, they're just too focused on not breaking a leg, literally falling off a cliff, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
getting eaten by a bear. Small things.
That's by the way why people bring their dogs.
Yeah.
Right. I've got a great plan though. You're interested in the bonfires, the music, the snacks. Those are all at the aid stations. What if Finding Data Friends just sponsored an aid station and we could give out some snacks, we could eat some snacks. We don't have to run. We can just do the snacks.
Yeah, I have an idea for your like next sequel run. Like, Ben, you don't have to run. You could just sponsor the aid station at the middle. Bring trail running to the masses.
So the thing is, the sequel bits run is like a 5K. I'm not sure if they ever implement an aid station because it's
no,
not
but I could easily
on...
eat s'mores after a mile.
Perfect.
Like, I don't think I need to run 10 miles.
Thank you. Thank you for having my back, or well, more my belly in that case. But anyways,
yeah.
The things that I have seen on ultra marathon and other trail race aid stations is a phenomenal list. Like the one that I did last December, they had a couple of kids making cheese quesadillas. They also had someone just
cheese quesadillas.
Just someone making bacon and handing out like hot bacon to the runners as they came in. My first 50K, my favorite snack was the aid station I went to where they had taken Oreos and just dipped them in peanut butter. And so you just got an Oreo dipped in peanut butter if you wanted it.
Interesting.
What do you mean if you wanted it?
I might have been doing running wrong. Well, I don't like peanut butter, so I'm not eating that. You just ruined an Oreo right there.
When you've been running 25 miles, it sounded and was delicious. But you also could have gotten some hot soup broth, or you could have gotten an ice cold Coke that they had already like gotten all the bubbles out.
Flattened.
So they had like flat, cold soda, which is amazing when you're out on a hot day. So trail running is where it's at. I'm not even going to talk about how beautiful things are or how many snakes I've run into living here in Kentucky because nobody wants to hear that part of it. But the food
focus
part
on
is
the snacks.
Spectacular. Yeah.
Totally. Love that.
Nice. Okay, so I see we have a plan on our next ultra marathon, Jes, double S Jes, that is.
Yes. I'm not running, but I'm snacking. In.
Yes.
Exactly. count me in as well. I mean, the first time I met Single S Jess in person was actually in Seattle, and we went running in the morning with Aaron. And I mean, that was just a 5K, but it still ended at a donut shop. So
I was going to say, and then we got donuts. There is definitely
Nice.
a theme in my life here.
I'm not sure if we had
like it. I'm
donuts or
here
it
for
was
that.
bear claws. I want to be precise here, but it was definitely
Both
definitely
good.
a treat.
I'm betting we ended at Top Pot Donuts. I remember that. And I can almost guarantee that I would have gotten an apple fritter from Top
I
Pot
love their
because-
apple fritters from there.
They're
so good. I need to go back to Seattle just for the foods.
Yeah.
This November would be perfect, just saying.
That would be perfect.
And also, speaking about all these favorite snacks and all that, that's like the perfect segue into our last and final question of the show. And then again, it might be hard given all the different kinds of snacks you've just mentioned. But as you know, we were not sure if people would come on their own will on this show. So we started kidnapping some people. Then we quickly realized it's not even necessary because people get on the van without us actually having to use too much excessive force, at least. We figured, well, now that we're all here in the van or RV, what it is now, we're going to be hungry. We're still not quite sure about the rules if you actually have to prepare that meal for us or just provide it. But let's stick with providing for now. What kind of meal are you providing for us, Jess? Single as Jess.
If we are in an RV and I am driving my friends anywhere to get the perfect meal, we are going to be taking the RV up to the north of France. We are going to go to Omaha Beach. We are going to go to a small restaurant that overlooks the far western edge of the beach, in which they make the world's perfect omelet that is stuffed with camembert cheese and covered with a sprinkling of green onions. It is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life, and I still think about that daily.
Let me point out a couple of things here. First of all, Single as Jess made sure it is something that I can eat because it's vegetarian.
Yeah,
and second of all, and I cannot stress that part enough, rather than making us fly all the way to the US again only for a quick, she's coming all the way over here. And that's why we are friends.
That's a true friend.
I mean, that's one of the many reasons we are friends, but
I will
just had to stress that part out.
I will come for a road trip and eat food with you in Europe any day. Any day.
We could make it like an ultra marathon, but we just drive from place to place eating food.
That's even better than actually running.
It's called an ultra buffet.
You can run alongside if you want. The ultra buffet. Interested?
You can be my support van that just sits there and waits for me and eats the food.
Yeah.
Well, the issue might be that whenever you want something out of the support van, it's gone because we ate it.
Yeah, but just sat there and just covered in crumbs. Yeah.
Get me some more of those s'mores.
Yeah.
We didn't have s'mores.
Oh, who forgot to bring the s'mores? Ben? No.
We'll be prepared. We'll bring enough for everyone.
Can there ever be enough? I don't think so.
No.
But anyways, I'm very much looking forward to that road trip. And just like that,
agreed.
Another 15-minute show is unfortunately over. Single as Jess, thank you so much for joining us this week. It was a great pleasure seeing you and talking to you as always. Double S Jess, thank you. Pleasure seeing you as well, and as always, and everybody else. Pleasure having you watch us as always, and we see you all next week. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, folks. Bye.